Falsely thoughts, race, life's a twisted place. No time to
My bad, man. TikTok was being weird. I'm not sure what
Are you
that
good?
problem was. But yeah, go ahead. We got I'm put 25 minutes on the clock and go on and talk to me, man. What you got?
So, one question before we start.
Mhm.
So, if I were to show you 100% evidence that my God is real, would you worship him? Yes or no?
No.
No, why not?
Because just because it exists doesn't mean I have a reason to worship it.
So, you wouldn't worship it even if it was real?
Even if it was weird, yeah, I want to worship it and I have no reason to worship it. And furthermore, if you are you talking about the God of the Bible?
Yes.
Yeah, if it's a God of the Bible, I'm definitely not worshiping it.
Okay, so no matter what I say, no matter what I do, there's nothing that could change your mind.
No, I would change my mind and acknowledge that it exists, but that doesn't mean I will worship it.
Well, in the same way, if you were to show me 100% evidence that my God isn't real and I choose to worship it, that would make me delusional.
Probably.
In the same way that would make you delusional if I were to show you 100% evidence that my God is real.
No, it wouldn't make me delusional.
It
I would
would, because
yeah,
you're
just
denying the
because
truth.
right. No, I wouldn't deny I wouldn't deny the truth. I would say that yeah, sure, it exists, but that doesn't mean I need to worship it. Like if I were to show you 100% truth that the god of my grandmother, Irzuli or Ogun or Shango, the god of my Haitian ancestors, if I were to show you 100% truth that they were real, you probably wouldn't worship them either.
I would, because they're 100% real. If you were to show me 100% evidence, yeah, I would worship it,
Why?
because it's the truth. If you show me evidence, if it's the truth, it's the truth. If it's the truth, I would worship it.
Okay, my wallet is real. It's the truth. You gonna worship this?
Okay, you just show me your wallet is real. Your wallet is not God. There's a difference.
Right, but it's real and it
Yeah,
exists.
but it's not God.
So it is
A
real and
wallet, a
exists. So
wallet and
worship
God
it.
are two completely different things.
All right, but what I'm saying is that's special pleading. Just because something exists doesn't mean you need to worship it.
But God is needed to be worshipped,
How? Why is God needed to be worshipped
because
if it's already God?
because if I were to show you evidence, God made the whole universe.
So what?
So what? He made you, he made me, he made everyone on this earth.
So
So he needs to be worshipped.
no, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. But
Why?
guess what? He gives you a free will to worship him or not. So that's the beauty of
Right. So I don't need
Christianity.
to do it.
Yeah,
If he gave you the
that's your
free
free
will to
will.
worship it or not,
That's your
I
free
don't
will,
need to do it.
and you'll be separate from him.
All right, cool. Why would I? Why would I? Okay, I would actually want to be separate from
Okay, that's your
a
choice. That's
being.
your free will. That's why God gives
Right.
you a free will.
Cool. And I would want to be separate from a being that promotes slavery, genocide, captive war brides, things like that. I
Nowhere
would
in the
want to be
Bible
separate
does
from
it
that.
condone that.
Hmm?
Nowhere in the Bible does it condone that.
Oh, you wanna? Which one you wanna hit first?
You want to do slavery?
Yeah, let's do slavery,
So the greatest miracle is the second greatest miracle is Exodus, which is freeing the slaves.
which is not proven. But let's go ahead and read what the Bible says. So Leviticus 25:44 to 46. As for the male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you and from their families who are with you and have been born in your land. They may be your property. You may keep them as your possession for children after you, from them to inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves, but as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over each other with harshness. So basically, you can go ahead and make foreigners, people slaves, but your fellow Israelites, no, they're fine. They're good. They're from your nation. So ethnic slavery is all good with the God, the Bible. Why should I worship that?
So what you're doing is you're taking the Bible out of context. See, what you're thinking is slavery. You're thinking of slavery as Civil War slavery. No, slavery back then was different than Civil War slavery. That's not the slavery that you think it is.
Okay, so in Civil War slavery, were people owned for life?
Where people own for life.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And were people considered possessions?
but guess what? Most of the slaves are
Were
Christians.
people considered
Why?
possessions?
Why would a
Were they
slave be Christian?
considered possessions? Yes or no?
Were they? Yes, they were considered possessions.
Okay,
But the
so you
slavery
may
back then
acquire them from the
well,
among
that's
the
not
aliens
Civil War
residing among
slavery.
you, from their families who they are born in your land. They may be your property. You may keep them as possessions for your children after you. From them, you should inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves. So yeah, they
Those
were
are no,
possessions
that's
for
not the
life.
slavery that you think. It's actually indentured servants.
No, this is not indentured servitude. The verses from indentured servitude are about 3, 4 verses before this. These are talking about the foreign slaves. The Israelites were indentured servitudes. These foreigners were slaves, and it clearly
Okay,
says,
so even if I were to tell you the context, you wouldn't even listen to me because you said
bro,
yourself.
I've read this and I've read the context. The few verses before this are about indentured. Where's the context where it says that these are not property? Because you agreed with me that chattel slavery back in the civil rights days was being property and being a slave for life. This is saying so you can make people as property and slaves for life. So what is the difference?
What's the difference between what?
This verse in Leviticus says that they're property and they're slaves for life. The Civil War chattel slavery, they were considered property and slaves for life. In Civil War chattel slavery, it was ethnic based. This is also ethnic based because it says that the foreigners you treat as slaves, not your fellow Israelites. So it's ethnic based, they're property, and they're slaves for life in both scenarios. How is it different?
How is it different? You gotta read the context, brother.
What is the context of being owned for life for your ethnicity
Listen,
and a slave for
I
life?
don't know the context between that, but there is a context in that, and the Bible never condones it.
But it just says that you can do it. This is God speaking to the Israelites. All
Okay.
right, how about let's try another one. Let's see. There's one in Deuteronomy. Give me 1 second, all right? Because I have these all written down. Let's go to Deuteronomy 20:10, verse. Go Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 10 to 16. When you draw near to a town to fight against it, offer them terms of peace. If it accepts terms of peace and surrenders to you, then all the people in it shall serve you at forced labor. Is slavery forced labor?
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. Deuteronomy 20, verse 10 to 11, they they're fine with forced labor. That's
Just
slavery
because the
right there.
Bible records it doesn't mean it condones it.
So because the Bible records it doesn't mean it condones it, even though this was Yahweh speaking to the Israelites about what they do to other towns. You want to go to verse 12 where it says to capture war brides?
Listen, bro, you can't call God evil when you don't believe in a God.
Is slavery evil?
Yes, but you can't call God evil if you don't believe in a God.
I can call Voldemort evil, and I don't believe in Voldemort.
Well, you can't call anything evil if you don't believe in a God, because
Yeah, I can.
without God, you can't call anything evil.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can. I can come up with my own personal definitions and
You
morals of
can't
evil.
tell me that murder is evil without God, because
Sure, I
otherwise
can.
it's just a preference.
Yeah, it is a preference. We prefer not to die. So yeah,
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I don't care what your morals are. I think murder is okay.
fine,
If
but
you
no one
believe in no
agrees with me.
God, then
Right, but the majority of our society will not agree with you. So
okay.
if you do that,
But
you
it's
will
just
go
a
to jail because
preference.
it has a negative. These have negative consequences. No
It's just a
society
preference.
survives.
You think that
Look,
there's no God.
no society survives for long with people going around murdering others, which is why we don't do it.
Okay, but you can't call it evil then.
Sure, I can. I can call it evil
No, you can't.
because you're
You have
ending
no right.
the.
You have no
You're
basis to call anything evil without
Yes,
God.
I do. The basis
No,
that
you
I have
don't.
calling it, the basis I have calling it evil is the amount of harm that it caused. If you were to murder me, I have family who cares about me. I have children who care about me. I have friends who care about me. And if you do that, you will harm them. Not only that, you end my entire experience forever, and I will never come back. That is the
Okay.
ultimate sacrifice. That is the ultimate violation.
Okay, but I don't
So
think it's
yes, it
evil.
is harmful and therefore evil because of the amount of harm that it caused.
Okay, but I don't think it's evil according to your worldview. It's not
That's
evil.
fine. You don't think it's evil, but according to my worldview, it is evil. And
Okay,
according
it
to our
doesn't matter what you
society,
said. But guess what?
it would be evil. It wouldn't matter to God either because you just said I have free will. So why would I care what God says?
Why would you care what God says?
Mhm.
You don't have to, but you can spend eternity separate from Him if you don't believe in Him. Yeah, that's your choice.
Right. So that gives me no reason to care either.
Okay, you can be separate from Him. That's your choice.
Right. What I'm
That's why
saying
God
is
gives you a free will.
that still gives
You
me no
think God
reason.
wants to force you to be with Him for eternity? No, He wouldn't
What you're
force you.
saying, hold on, Justin. What you said was that I can't determine if things are evil without a God because under my worldview, there's no reason to care. Under your worldview, there is no reason to care either because I can just say screw you, God, and not want to be with them.
No, what I'm saying is you can choose to be separate from Him. That's your choice. What
Right.
I'm saying is, without God, you cannot say anything's good or evil, because without God, there's no morality.
All right, let's go. Let's say well, that's ridiculous to me. There is morality, but let's go ahead and go with what you're saying. There's no morality. Are there good and bad consequences? Are there positive consequences and negative consequences?
Yeah, there's negative consequences. There's consequences to your actions. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we prefer to not have negative consequences, and those negative consequences is what we put the label of bad, or if they're very very negative, we put the label of evil on it. Right.
Yeah. And why is that?
Exactly.
Because of God.
No, it's not because of God. It's
Yeah.
because that's what, as human beings, we have language and human convention. So if something has a negative consequence, we call it bad, and it has a very, very negative consequence, like the consequences of it are extremely negative, we label it as evil. So even as a human convention, I can label things as evil if I want.
Okay. But I don't think it's evil.
You don't think it's evil to
See, it's
murder?
just a preference.
Yeah, but it's a negative consequence, is it not?
Okay, but it's just a preference whether you like broccoli or asparagus.
But is it block-eared asparagus don't have negative consequences?
Okay,
Is it a
but it's
negative
just a preference.
consequence?
I prefer to murder people.
Right. Does that preference have negative consequences?
Does it have negative consequences? Yeah.
So I put the label of bad on that consequence, so I can still
Okay,
determine things
that's
are
your
bad.
opinion, but I don't think it's bad.
Okay, what label would you put on? Oh, you don't think it's bad? Okay, so you can murder babies then?
Yeah, according to your logic, yeah.
No, not according to my logic. According to
Yeah,
your logic.
because
According
you
to
don't
my
believe in
logic,
God, so you don't
no,
think anything is
just
you
no,
can't
no,
call anything
Justin,
good or evil.
Justin, you're not listening. You're not listening. You're not listening. Listen to what I just said, right? Let's say according to let's say I throw out the labels of good and evil, and I just put things as negative consequences or positive consequences. Murdering babies has negative consequence. Why would I support negative consequences in a society where we have social interdependence? Why would I do that?
Why would you do that? Why would you do a murder babies?
Right. You said under my worldview, murdering babies is fine. However, I'm a being that lives with other beings and we have social interdependence. Murdering babies has negative consequences within the society and social interdependence. So why would I not mind murdering babies? Why would I be fine with that?
Because you don't believe in a God. So if you don't believe in a God, you can't say that's evil.
You didn't listen to me, did you?
Yeah,
We
I did.
still live in listen, okay, Justin, do we live in a society?
Yes.
Do we have social interdependence?
What do you mean by that?
Social interdependence means that we depend on one another. Even if I don't know you, you could be across the planet right now.
Yeah.
We still, we depend on one another. So to depend on one another in general, it's probably preferable that we all get along, right?
Yeah.
If I go around murdering babies, if 100,000 people go around murdering babies, what would happen to society? Will we all get along?
Probably not. But that's
Exactly.
just a preference.
So why? What my thing is, you said that under my worldview, I wouldn't mind that. I would mind that because under my worldview, I depend on everybody else. We have social interdependence. Murdering babies is counterproductive for our society. So why would I want that? I
Why would
wouldn't.
you want? I'm not saying you would want to do that. I'm just saying
That I
in your
wouldn't mind,
worldview-
but I would mind because I live in a society where if we were to do that, society would collapse. So
Well,
it's
what I'm
not
saying is-
preferable.
What I'm saying is that you think in your worldview it's just a preference. I mean, maybe you don't want to do that, but maybe other people will.
There are people who want to do that. What do we do to
them?
them?
Believe in a God.
But there are people who want to do
Can't
that. What
call
do we
it
do to them?
evil because God is the one that gives us morality.
I can call it evil, and the reason why I can call it evil is because like we have language, and if the consequence of something is very very negative, the language I use for that is to call it evil.
Okay, just because there's a consequence doesn't mean it's evil. It's
Okay,
just a preference.
so it was
According
God's
to you, it's
preference.
just a preference.
So it was God's preference to murder babies then.
Well, which passage? Are you talking about Moses when Pharaoh decided not to let the slaves go?
And who made Pharaoh not let the slaves go?
Who made Pharaoh not himself?
No,
He
it
didn't
wasn't
want to let the
himself.
slaves go.
The verse clearly said that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So it was God who made him not let the slaves go.
Because his heart was hard. He didn't want to listen.
No,
There's
God
no
said
point, there's no point in
God
making
made
him
his
listen
heart
because
hard.
his heart was too hard.
God made his heart hard.
Okay.
According to the passage, it was God who made his heart hard.
But Pharaoh didn't listen.
He would have listened, but but the
No, he
verse
wouldn't
clearly
listen.
clearly says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart, which
Okay,
means that God did that to him. He would have listened if God didn't harden his heart.
okay, but why are you calling God evil when he literally is the creator of life? He can literally take life when he wants.
So we're going with the fallacy of the tyrant. Basically, he can do whatever he wants.
Okay, I give you $20 every week, and I choose to not give you $20 one week. That's okay because I'm the one giving you $20.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
20
Same with God. He can take
$20
any life away if he wants to.
$20 is not a sentient being.
Okay, but God created the whole universe, so he can do whatever he wants.
Right. That's special pleading, my man.
Okay, he created everything.
Yeah,
He
and
can
that's
take
special
life
plead.
when he wants to.
If your argument is that God can be a petulant child because he feels like it, that's a pretty like shitty God. I'm not gonna worship that.
Okay, that's up to you. You can be separate from him.
Right. But what I'm saying is that the God that you're explaining right now is just a petulant, petty child.
Okay, that's your choice. You can call him that if you want, but you can.
That's what you just described.
Okay.
God's supposed to be all loving. That's what at least what I learned
Yeah,
when
he
I
is
was in
all
church.
loving.
All right. So if he's all loving, why would he just take away life because he feels like it?
Why? No, he doesn't take away life for no reason. He takes away life because that's a consequence for your actions.
That's a consequence for our actions. Okay, great. So when let's see, what did the women do to call be raped, basically?
What?
Okay, so God allowed women to be raped. What was
No, he didn't.
yeah, he did. God allowed women to be raped when he was cursing David. He allowed women to be raped. So what was what did they do to for that?
So you're asking why God allows unnecessary suffering?
Not just unnecessary suffering, he literally caused them to be raped.
Okay, that's not God's fault.
How is it not God's fault if he's the one causing it?
Okay, think of it like this: I hit you, and I go blame God. I'm a con artist and I'm a liar.
No, you're the one who hit me, but God didn't make you hit me. I'm saying in this scenario, God made you hit me. Why would I not blame him?
He didn't. He allows. He allows. I don't know why he allows unnecessary suffering. That's what we don't know. No one can answer that question why he allows unnecessary suffering. But what I do know is when we sin and destruction came into this world.
Okay,
Which
let's
is what
read
what
2
David did.
Samuel. Let's read 2 Samuel 12, 8 to 12. Okay. I gave you master's house and your master's wives into your bosom, and gave you the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had to be too little, I would have added as much more. This is God talking to David after David slept with Bathsheba and murdered Uriah the Hittite, right? So right here he says, now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, for you have despised me and taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus says the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in broad daylight. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel in broad daylight. So the women weren't choosing to be slept with by these men. David's son Absalom went ahead and took David's wives and basically raped them on the temple in front of all of Israel. And this is something that God
Okay,
caused.
that's the consequence for your actions. That's what
What did
David
the
gets
women do?
when he goes against God.
But what did the women do, Justin?
That okay, that's his consequence.
Why are the women getting this consequence? Yeah, sure, David, I'm sure, have gotten consequence, but why are the women being raped because of what David did?
You can't question what God does
Why
because
not?
he made the whole universe.
So
So if he
my
made
mom
the whole
gave
universe, he
my
can do
mom gave
whatever he
birth to me.
wants.
I can still question what she does, can I?
You can what?
My mom gave birth to me. I can still question what she does.
Well, the difference is your mom isn't God. She didn't create
So
the whole
what?
universe.
So
What do you mean,
what?
so what?
That doesn't matter.
It does
Let's
matter.
let's say that God did create the universe. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna add up Iowa here. Iowa, I'm gonna add you up right now, okay? Because I know you want to talk for a few minutes.
Oh, great. 2v1. Great.
No, it's not 2v1. I swear I'll be quiet. So let's say you're correct. God created the universe. Cool. So what?
Okay, so he can take life whenever whenever he wants.
Just because he says so.
Yeah, because he
So
created
God
the
is
whole
a
world.
so God is a tyrant.
But every time God takes life, he has a reason for it.
Okay, so what was the reason that these wives of David got raped by his son? What was the reason for that?
Because that's the consequence for David's actions.
Yes, but David did the actions. What did the women do?
I can't question God. You can't question what he
That
does.
that doesn't answer my question. What did the women do?
Listen, God knows more than all of us. I don't know why.
Okay, great. Exactly. I don't know why either. So he caused people to get raped because David did something. That's pretty shitty.
Okay, but you don't know the reason. I don't know the reason. Only
The
God
reason
knows.
is because David sinned. So his
Yeah, that's
wives
his
get
consequence.
raped because
But I don't
David
know
sinned.
why. I don't know why he did that. I don't know.
Iowa, what you got?
But he's not
What you got,
evil.
Iowa?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm all right. How's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. You guys are having quite an interesting conversation.
Mhm. Yeah, we are. You can go ahead because there's about 5 minutes left. I'll move on to the next guest, and we'll go ahead and get it popping. Give me 1 second. Ernest, I do see you in the chat. I'm gonna let Iowa and Justin talk for a little bit, and then I'll bring you up. All right, Ernest. But my bad, Iowa. Go ahead.
Oh, you're
Crap.
absolutely fine.
Justin left.
Yeah, he didn't seem to really he didn't seem to enjoy that. So I personally I believe in God. But probably not in the same sense as Justin does.
Okay.
I more view God from I'm a former pastor myself.
Mhm.
Currently pursuing my master's in theology, but my perception of God is more from a philosophical basis than a theological.
Okay.
In the sense that I know God exists because you exist.
Okay. God exists because I exist.
Absolutely.
So existence in of itself is what you're saying God is.
More or less, kind of in that same box there. So for example, yourself, when did you begin? I guess.
I guess when I was born,
Okay. Um. Well.
or like when I was able to have sentient experience when the neurons and when I was a fetus and the neurons in my brain started. I guess we can say
Okay.
then.
So not when you were born, a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I mean, we could say the spark of life being that at conception kind of thing. If I'm not mistaken, the egg in which you were fertilized existed within your mother when she was born.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're constantly pushing that back. So much so that carbon, for example, we all are carbon-based life forms, is created in the moments of when a star kind of dies in supernovas. So
Mm-hmm.
realistically, the elements that make up your body trace all the way back to the Big Bang.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, the elements that make up your body will exist forever, even
Forever.
after you
Yep.
die.
Yep.
The impact that you have on other people's lives is based on the impact that people have had on your lives, all the way
Mm-hmm.
down to the very beginning of time to the very end of time.
Right.
It is for that reason that you are therefore timeless. You've been there since the beginning and you will be there till the end of time. In that same sense, where do you believe in a soul, perchance?
No, I don't. Here's what I would say.
Okay.
I agree up to a certain point, right? Yeah, the atoms that are in my body, the elements that make up my body. Philip, I'm gonna let you in right after I talk to Iowa. The atoms and the atoms and everything that make up the and the elements that make up my body. Yeah, sure. They've practically always existed, and they're gonna exist after I pass away, and they're gonna exist trillions of years of now when the universe is in heat death, right?
Mhm.
Sure. To say that therefore I always existed, that's a completely different thing because me as a person, my consciousness didn't emerge until I started to have a conscious experience, which is around I think 25 to 28 weeks inside the womb. And even then, like we're not sure what if we have consciousness then. You see what I'm saying? Like we can probably have the potential for consciousness at that point, which is, because the neurons in our brain has formed and our brain has formed, therefore we can have a conscious experience. You see what I'm saying? So when like at that point, I would say at 28 weeks up until now, up until the day that I pass away, that's when I exist. If I live until 90 or if I live until 113, that's when I exist. You see what I'm saying? After that, I'm non-existent. That's just like how I was before I was born.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. There are two aspects I would take of that. The first one being, say World War II. When did World War II start? Well, I mean, in reality, it started with World War One. It started as a consequence of what happened in World War One, and you can continuously trace that back again to the dawn of man. And
Sure.
when did World War II end? Well, I mean, the Cold War was a repercussion of World War II, and the war on terror was created by the power vacuum of the Cold War. So, I mean, it never ended. So, yes, I agree with you that the consciousness is a big part of that. But what is your consciousness? What is
As far
that?
as far as we know, as far as we can tell, because we haven't cracked the code yet. As far as we can tell, consciousness is an emergent property of the brain,
Mhm.
just like fire is an emergent property of oxygen and dry wood. You see what I'm saying? So it's not really of where it comes from. It's just something that emerges uh spontaneously.
It's an action.
Yeah, it's an yeah, kind of. I'm using the wrong word when I say spontaneously because I'm not a neuroscientist, but
No,
essentially it's an emergent property of our brain, essentially.
exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
I view it more as your brain is consciousing, if that makes sense. Your brain is egoing, if that's kind of putting it in better terms. And I view it the same way as creation is peopling. We are and in that sense, and
Give me 1 second. Philip, Honest Games, and Ernest, I do see you guys in the box. I'm gonna bring you guys up right after I speak to Ernest. Remember, we're doing only one-on-one right now. Yeah, remember to tap the screen. Yeah, remember to share this live, send it out to everybody, and we'll go ahead and have some good discussion. My bad, Iowa. Go ahead.
oh, you're absolutely fine. I don't want to interrupt your live. If you want to cut me off at any moment in time, don't hesitate.
No, not a problem.
Um,
Hanji, appreciate the gifts, but yeah, go ahead, Iowa.
I just, in that sense, though, I mean, we don't really have a start and we don't really have a stop. And expanding upon that, well, what is us? What are we? I mean, we're not our body because we call it my body. It's not my hands, because it's my hands. It's not
Mm-hmm.
my brain because it's my brain. I own that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, again, when you start talking about your conscious or your ego, you say, well, that's something your brain does, but
Right, it is.
you can't really find it. And in that sense, it almost makes me feel like what we do is we make the conscious or the ego be smaller than the body, and we put the body over the conscious or the ego.
I
And
mean, when it comes to the conscious and the ego, the conscious and the ego are basically a part of us, right? Because after I pass away, like the only part of my ego that will still exist is probably the legacy that I leave behind. Like if I have children or if I do something like really amazing, like Einstein or Tesla or Obama. Yeah, I mean, if I do something really amazing, then maybe that's my ego that's left behind. But other than that, that's that's basically it. Yeah, you know what I mean? My once I pass away and my brain rots, my consciousness is gone. My ego is gone. My body is gone. The only thing left is my legacy.
absolutely. Going off that, though, real quick.
Mhm.
So, you don't believe in an afterlife then?
No, not until we have actual evidence of it. I know that, like spooky stuff happens, you know what I mean? Like I don't doubt people's experiences, but until like I actually have some hard evidence of that, I don't believe so.
Well, I mean, isn't a lot of that, like, I can't remember exactly, but when you are close to death or your body realizes it's dying, your brain produces a crazy amount of dimethyltryptamine and stuff like that,
Mhm.
which, I mean, essentially is a hallucinogenic. So, I mean, a lot of those can be traced to hallucinogenic experiences. But I guess going off that, would you be interested in believing in an afterlife? Not necessarily like, would you care to believe in one that people would tell you exist or whatnot, but would, in your personal preference, would you rather there be an afterlife or not?
Yeah, because honestly, I want to see what happens, and I actually do want to see if I could live for millions of years and seeing what my descendants do. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'm from West Indian descent, right? My grandmother was a Haitian Vodou practitioner. You feel me? And she always gave left rum for Ban Samedi. She always left leaves around and stuff like that. She prayed to Erzuli, people like that. You feel me? So it's these are like afterlife deities going to the crossroads and meeting Papa Legba and everybody like that. So like, yeah, that would be pretty awesome to see, because the afterlife in Haitian Vodou is awesome. Well, if you're a good person, if you weren't cursed or whatever. But the afterlife in African traditional religions, awesome. You know what I mean? It's not like, like heaven where you're sitting on clouds and playing harps all day. Nah, you getting lit. You know what I'm saying? Your descendants give you some rum, they give you some food, you know what I mean? They tell you, hey, this person is messing with me, and you go mess with them. You give them advice. The afterlife in the African traditional religion is lit. So I would definitely love that to exist. But as far as I've seen, probably doesn't, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would, if someone were to show that some sort of, afterlife like that exists, I would love it. But if it's the afterlife of, what we traditionally think in the West of kind of floating in the clouds or whatever, that's boring, bro. I mean, just let me not exist anymore.
So what you just touched on is, first off, so beautiful.
Mm.
And I think the reason why I struggle with, I don't believe heaven exists the way it's portrayed,
Mhm.
is because it just couldn't. If you were to be given essentially a cloud, as it were, and a harp to play, if you could have anything you ever wanted manifested right before you, what would you do with it? I mean, you'd become bored. You would
Mhm.
become, there'd be nothing to gain from it. If you could just, push a button and have all the most wonderful food put in front of you, if you could push a button and have beautiful music played, eventually you would get bored.
Exactly.
And that's
Give me
that's
1 second. All right.
Yep.
Siru, I do see you in the chat, but you have people in front of you. You have Ernest in front of you, and then Philip, then Honest Games, then you. All right. So stay in the box. I got you. I'm gonna get to everybody in a second.
I'll let
I have a
you
lot of requests to you. But yeah, go
I'll
ahead,
let
Io. Io, we have about 2-3 more minutes. You
Perfect.
wanna wrap up?
Yep, absolutely. In that same sense, I think that's kind of what God did. I think God had the ability to create, he had the ability to enjoy everything. And in doing so, that becomes very boring. And,
Mhm.
I think at that point, well, what do you do? Well, I mean, if you want to enjoy a horror movie or something like that, I can't go in and just think, okay, well, it's just a movie. It's not actually real, and I can't pick apart the plot and whatnot because I won't actually enjoy the movie. I have to forget that it's a movie. And I think in that same sense, at creation, God forgot he was God. And that was the intent. The intent was all of creation is God. God cannot create outside of himself. And our human experience is us living our lives and creating essentially a lens in which we, as creation, as God,
Mhm.
observe and interact with God, but now with the added lens of this background, this environment, this thing that we are brought up in our lives. And that's what adds variety to it.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting, bro. I think the people want us to go ahead and move on, but I'm go ahead and drop me a follow, and we could go ahead and discuss this another time. All right, bro.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
All right, he was a nice guy. Ernest, I know you've been waiting for a while. I'm gonna bring you up right now. Philip kind of left, but all right, Siru, stay in the box. Because I gotta bring Ernest up, and then I'm gonna get to you. Okay. That's if Ernest is still here because he's been waiting for a while too. All right, y'all. Remember to tap that screen. Remember to tap that screen. Remember to share it. Remember to go ahead and like this live. I do want to have this discussion with everybody. I mean, if you're any type of religion, Christian, Muslim, whatever you like to talk about, let's go ahead and speak on it. All right. All right. Yeah, I think Ernest is not here anymore. All right, see, I'm bringing you up. Let's hope you connect. There you go. See, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. You were just a little bit low.
Um, is that better? No, I can't hear you. Isn't technology wonderful? Only when it works, right? Uh, I still can't hear you. There you go.
That's better. Hold on.
I think that's you. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
now you
hear.
can hear me, right?
Yeah. Do you hear me better?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you better. Okay, yeah, it was just technology messing with us. Yeah, that always happens.
I know
uh,
it's great until it doesn't work.
Joyful Apostate, how's it going, Joyful? I follow you as well. I'm gonna be on your live. I think you're going live tonight. I'll be there. All right, my bad, Cyril. So go ahead, talk to me. What you got?
So as far as the prompts are concerned, there's no good reason.
Mhm.
Faith is a pathway to truth. I think um, where I will land on and and all of this, because I've been in so many lives where people are talking about God and whether or not God exists, religion and things like that, and my biggest concern as far as all of that type of thing is concerned is I think the reason that we want to believe in something is because we are afraid of what happens to us when we're no longer here. So when you think about the end of your life, I think a lot of people are just afraid,
Mhm.
so we give ourselves some kind of consolation that there's going to be something that happens to us afterwards, which there's no proof of that. There's
Mhm.
no evidence that there's going to be a heaven or a hell or whatever it is that you think is going to happen afterwards, and nobody has ever come back
Mhm.
to say to us,
Oh, so you're actually not a believer then?
no, I'm not.
Ah, okay. You're friendly. Welcome to the right side of reality.
I'm like, listen, I mean, as human beings, I think we like to think of ourselves. We put a lot of emphasis in the fact that we're higher than anything, or the way that we live our lives is almost like I watched someone 22 years old on a bike, riding down the freeway, and they're going like 120 miles an hour, and I'm like, do you really think that whatever it is that's waiting for you on the other end is really going to save you? And
Mhm.
I think when you live your life in that way, when you live your life going 120 miles an hour and thinking that you're infallible, or you're but you still end up in the same place that everybody else is going to end up, like 100 years from now,
In the
none of.
dirt.
Yeah, exactly. 100 years from now, I heard this quote, and this dude was telling us, he's like, if you really think you're that special, then show me that you're that special, because 100 years from now, the house that you live in, the car that you're driving, the all of that's going to be gone. Somebody else is going to be living in your home. And it's a really harsh pill to swallow, but
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt you for one moment because I did bring someone else up. Honest Genius, you there?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right, man. You're any type of believer?
Yeah, I'm a believer. I believe I lean towards Jesus as probably the most likely to be the Messiah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, cool. Let me go ahead and start this clock over. I don't want it to be a 2v1, so I'll discuss a little bit with you, and then Cyril will as well. But yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Cyril. It's just like, we're friendlies, so I do want to get some opposition up in here. All right.
No, I'm totally fine with that. Yeah.
All right, great.
I
All right,
know.
so
Well, I annoyed the last guy by talking about science stuff, and he got mad at me, which is weird because usually atheists are pretty like into science, you know. But this guy, he didn't want to talk about relativity. He didn't want to talk about the Big Bang. So I'm like, well, how can you even be an atheist if you don't? Because normally they have a scientific argument, you know.
yeah, I mean, let me start this clock actually. I mean, what I would say is that many times that there are people who become atheists but are not, super well versed in everything science. I do know a little bit about it, and I can explain some of it. But if you were to ask me to explain why do quarks spin the way they do, shit, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Got to talk to Dr. Blitz or somebody. Yeah, you feel me?
yeah. I'm not
But
that advanced either, but I mean, I've been doing a lot of research like lately because I was like in a live and I really wanted to get up there and talk. But anyway, one thing I'll say about what she just said, it was that, if you look on the entire planet, humans are unique in the fact that we're the only being that's conscious, like self-aware. So that is a unique out of a million species that you would have to say humans are one of the few species that walks upright the way we do, completely vertical. I mean, there's a lot of unique things about human beings. The fact that we can actually alter evolution that now because they have things like the CRISPR technology where they can remove genes. So technically, the theory of evolution is debunked, at least on a time basis. Now, I'm not saying debunked, we can't prove the past, but what I'm trying to say is that the changes we make would never occur naturally without us interfering. So when we change a species of plant to make it something resistant to, for example, like a bug, so bugs can't eat it or won't eat it, that is not pure evolution. That's not like a natural selection. That's outside selection. So I think we humans have proven that creation on some level is possible. That we could, in theory, if technology gets advanced enough, we could create a species of animal that has never existed on the planet. It's possible. Like you could take part, like just like Jurassic Park, you could take 20 different genes from different animals and create something that, with enough information, you might be able to create an entirely different species of animal. So technically, creation might be possible.
well, here's two things that I would say, and I'll let Sierra go ahead as well. Two things that I would say is that one, when we talk about self-awareness, there actually are species out there that are self-aware, and even some that we that you wouldn't even think is self-aware that is. It wasn't, I think it's not the shark, I think it's the angelfish. They're self-aware. I know all the great apes, they're self-aware as well, and we know that because we actually do self-awareness tests on them to see if they'll pass. Like the mirror test is one of them. I think there's a few other self-awareness tests that they actually pass as well. So like we do know that there are animals out there that are conscious and are self-aware, especially dolphins and whales. They're probably the smartest ones. And elephants. Elephants are definitely self-aware. But when it comes to like how humans are special, I would say in the way that we're special is the way that we can send information because we learn how to do this. We learn how to speak. You know what I mean? And because we learn how to speak, we can go ahead and send information to each other. We can retain information and send it out to each other. Now, there are other animals who know how to speak, like birds, but birds only know how to retain the speech and repeat it. But us, we know how to retain the speech, repeat it, and still retain the information that we're conveying from that speech. Birds don't really know how to do that yet, if that makes sense. You know what I
Yes.
mean? But when it comes to a species like dolphins, if dolphins had hands, they would take over the ocean. You know what I mean? Because we know that they're as a they know what they're doing and they know what we are. You know, it's kind of a scary thought because dolphins know what they are, they know what we are, they know what they're doing, and
Right.
if they had hands, we would be screwed. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. That's what I would say. But when it
But
comes to creation being possible, yeah, we can mess with DNA and stuff like that and change the like probably take control of the direction of evolution. That's because we have the technology to do that now. But I don't think that necessarily shows that the universe or us as of ourselves were created. That's what I would say for that. But I do want Cyril to go ahead and respond as well. Go ahead, Cyril, and then you guys can go back and forth.
um as far as human beings being like the things that we have created, of course, you know, you see technology and you see the way that we live now. We are constantly um uh we are constantly evolving, and so we are constantly creating things that to me is phenomenal. Like I remember when I'm 48 years old, and I remember when I first got to college and we had AOL, and people are like, you know, you should take a my dad said to me, you should take a typing class. And I was like, typing? Like, really? I'm not going to be a secretary for the rest of my life. But now what do we see ourselves doing? We're constantly on this keyboard, and this is the way that we live our lives now. And technology has kind of taught us that it's not what you think that is going to happen is can you evolve at the same rate that the world is moving in. And so what I teach my kid is no information is too much information. Like there will never be a time that I say to my daughter, she's 16, and she says to me all the time, she's like, Mom, you know, you're constantly talking to me about all this stuff and everything, and it's too much. Sometimes it's too much. Like, just stop talking. And I'm like, baby, listen, there's going to be a time that I am not here for you. So suck everything up, and as much as you can take from me and the things that I have learned and the things that I have been through, take all of that, whether or not it's good, bad, whatever, you know, just take it all in and decipher for yourself at some point what are you going to do as a human being on this planet, because you're not going to be here very long. And when I was saying about people when human beings, when we think about ourselves in such a large scale, and we think that we're so special or whatever, that there's a lot of things that you can do to preserve your life. And most of the time, that requires you to be wealthy or have the best doctors and things like that. But at some point, that D word comes for you. It's
Mhm.
always going to come for you. And I think a lot of the things that we do to try to deter ourselves from that, religion, Jesus, all that kind of stuff, is just to make us feel better, make us feel safer, that once this thing ends, then I'm going somewhere, and I'm going somewhere to kind of a safe space. So
Mhm.
I am not a believer because I don't think that's what happens. I see it all the time. If you have ever been to any kind of funeral or anything like that, it's like the person is just gone, you know. So you don't get you don't get the satisfaction of and I don't even want to call it satisfaction, but you don't get that chance to say, oh, I see where you are, and
Mhm.
you're doing great on the other side, because no one has ever come back and told us that,
Yeah.
right?
What would
Yeah.
you yeah, how would you respond to everything we just said, honest?
Yeah, what I would say was what I meant by self-awareness and consciousness is that yes, there are animals that can exhibit some level of self-awareness, but you would have to agree that the human being is at the highest level of that. Would you on the planet, correct? That we know of.
Probably.
Oh,
That we know of, probably. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Right. So the second point is that, you know, I was asking the previous person, like, what would God be? Okay. For example, like,
Okay.
because like human beings, okay, for example, like AI,
Mhm.
they're saying AI will be more intelligent than humans. So how powerful would a God have to be called God? I mean, what would they have to be able to do? They'd have to make you be able to live forever, right? Isn't that true?
Yeah, I would say probably make yeah, something like that, and probably be able to kind of bend more some of morality not morality, I said bend some of reality to its whims. You know what I mean? Like for example, like I read comics when I was a kid, right? There was a villain in Marvel called the Molecule Man, and the Molecule Man can actually rearrange molecules, so he can basically make this microphone into a hot dog if you wanted to by rearranging the molecules. You see what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
there is an entity or a being who can actually do that, then that's basically godlike power. But I also noticed something else. Um, in Star Trek, I'm not sure if you guys are Trekkies, but in
Oh, I
Star
am.
Trek, that's exactly what the replicators do. They rearrange molecules. You see what I'm saying? And
Yes.
everyone on Star Trek is not everyone, but the main characters on Star Trek are humans. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
if technology like that were to exist, it would be godlike because you can literally make anything out of molecules, out of replicators. You see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
that would be if we get to a technology where it's that part, would humanity at that point be godlike? That's a good question to ask. But what would a god be? I think it would be something like that. But if it's just technology, is it really a god, or is just technology that we don't understand yet?
Well, I think the ultimate thing that humans want is to extend their consciousness forever. I mean, that's what we're all worried about, right? You pass away and then you're not alive anymore. I'm sorry, you're unalived. But
Right.
the thing is, one of the arguments you can make is that information does travel without the need for mass already. For example,
Mhm.
like it does require energy, but for things like Wi-Fi, radio waves, television signals, so information can travel without having mass. So that's one argument that there might be a possibility that consciousness could transfer, like a download or upload. I mean, I'm not saying that I can prove that, but I'm saying it's possible that it could.
Right.
And there's also other things too. The fact that there's a lot of information that's unknown about the universe. Like it's a huge, obviously it's enormous, and that we can't even fathom it. So it's what I mean is like we're okay for let's say 150 years we've developed technology that's pretty decent. Like we don't know how advanced it is compared to anybody else, but imagine the same progress in 100,000 years. Like imagine how powerful we'd be. So
Right.
what I mean is like, is it possible that there's something in the universe that has developed technology that's so advanced that they can alter, like they can destroy an entire planet, like with like a push of a button or something? Like how powerful can you get? How smart can you get? How we don't know. We don't know. There could be something that has so much power that it can change like matter and it can make you live forever. And it could be aliens even. I mean, my point is that to say like to act. I'm not saying it's kind of arrogant to be like, oh my God, there's nothing out there. I know for sure there can't be a God. But like, so I'm not saying you got to believe, but to be completely like sure that you're right is pretty arrogant, I think. Because like, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. My position is usually the position of withholding judgment. Like I don't believe it until we can show it to be true. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's me. I'm an agnostic atheist. If someone were to tell me, do you know that God doesn't exist, or you know that God does exist, I'll be like, I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that. But if they were asking me if I believe it, I'll be like, no, I don't believe it. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's a difference between knowing something and believing something. You know what I mean? I don't know if there is a God that exists, but at the moment, I don't believe in one because I have no reason to. My bad, Siri. I think I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Can I say one thing about
No,
Jesus?
sure.
What's interesting about Jesus is that like his moral character, similar to like Gandhi, I guess, like the same, that's what you would want. Okay, for example, if you had to make a prototypical human that you wanted to, how you wanted them to act as if they were God, Jesus is pretty close for most people's, like he's pretty good. He tried to help people. He wasn't like awful. He wasn't like Stalin or something. He was pretty. I mean, if you had a spectrum of human behavior, you
He was
would
a
have to
cool
say
dude.
his behavior was good. So even
Yeah,
if
he was
he's
cool.
not
Yeah.
God, he meets the
No,
test.
I would love Jesus if Jesus was an actual entity or something that existed. I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it because everything that he did was just the stories that you read in the Bible and everything like that. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but yes, I agree with you. I
Yeah.
would
So I
love
mean,
it.
he meets that test, the first test of like character. So I mean, if you want, I mean, God, because you want God to have good character. Obviously, if God is inconsistent and crazy and just does horrible things. I mean, but then a lot of people make the argument in the Old Testament that he was that way, and so it's difficult to reconcile a lot of it.
I'm sorry to cut you guys off. We do have about 2 more minutes before I
Oh,
got to move
okay.
on to the next guest. Let's go ahead and wrap up. You have any last words, Siru? I'll let you go first.
I mean, my last words are when I think about this life, and I think about it like on a beginning and end type of thing, and one of the craziest things that I have ever done as a human being was to bring another human being into this world, and so my focus is completely on her, and completely on understanding the kind of person that she wants to be, and trying to give her as much information as possible. I was just on another live where they were talking about contraception and all that kind of stuff, and abortion, and things like that. But I, I believe that because I grew up in a situation where my parents are African, and they did not talk to us about anything, nothing. Like the kinds of conversations that I'm having with people online right now, or the kind of conversations that my daughter has with her friends and everything, and it's because you just give them as much knowledge as you can. You can never say too much to your kids to where it's detrimental to them. So I believe knowledge is power. The more that you know.
Gotcha. How about you, Honest?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think a lot of people misunderstand. Je- I mean, I think I understand Jesus. What Jesus was trying to say, he wasn't saying you had to believe in him. I mean, what he was saying is he makes the decision. He's the Messiah. So, I think unbelievers, I think people that don't believe can go to heaven. I think it's up to him. So if you believe that, I mean, I believe that. So I think people that are maybe even sinners. I mean, there's some verses that say Jesus preached in hell. Hades. He preached to the sinners in Hades that were still in purgatory, whatever you want to say. So I'm saying anything's possible. I think it's a hopeful message, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I guess if I'm wrong, I'll just not know. But if I'm right, maybe I have a shot to go somewhere good. So I think either way, I win. I don't know. That's how I look
Gotcha.
at it.
Gotcha. And me, I just don't believe there's a there's a there. We just pass away. We rot in the dirt, and that's it. But I do appreciate both of you guys being
Yeah,
up here, and you guys have a good one. All right.
yeah,
Cheers.
you too.
Ooh, sorry to cut you off there, Honest. All right, you guys. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next guest. We're gonna keep on chucking. Heisenberg, I'm bringing you up right now. I know you was waiting for a little bit.
Hey,
There you are. Yeah, you wanted to talk yesterday, but you couldn't. Hey, would you mind just giving me 1 second? I just got to go ahead and get something to drink real quick. I'll be right back with you. All right.
go for it.
All right. And we're back around to it. All right. So Heisenberg, let's go ahead and have a discussion here. Let's clarify your position first. I think you said you're a believer.
Well, I am, but really, I call myself a design proponent. So I deconstructed a whole lot many years ago, and what's left over is mostly the design perspective.
Okay. Um, Go ahead and explain that more to me.
Well, I think that there are features of what I guess I'll call the natural world that I think are best explained by an intelligent cause as opposed to a mindless natural cause.
Okay. And what is that? Oh, so you're an intelligent design proponent.
Yes.
Okay. So what what seems to be intelligent about this planet?
Yeah, it's a good question. First, what do we mean by intelligence or intelligent? A lot of people think it's an IQ test, and that's not what it means. Intelligent design was a phrase coined by Charles Thaxton, I think, in the very early '80s, when he's looking at engineering journals.
Mhm.
So that's his influence in creating that phrase. So it's tied to the idea of engineering. So when we say intelligent design, we're not saying it's an IQ test. It's not smart or stupid. It's just engineering. So when we say there's an intelligent cause, there's a mind that has engineering ability. So when we look around the world, we might see features that look like it required a mind that had engineering ability to produce.
Okay. And where do we see that at?
Well, I think that a lot of the evidence that I see comes from biology. I talk a lot about DNA. I think there are some features of DNA that are really fascinating. It fits Claude Shannon's mathematical theory of communication. It has linguistic properties, which we're kind of testing with AI. We're explicitly modeling DNA as language and discovering new functions about proteins because of that. It also has punctuation, which is very spooky, I think. Genes are bookended by start and stop codons. So it's not as though nature just went into some random thing and picked out the useful stuff. Something went in there and delineated meaningful parts of it. There are also some things getting outside of DNA. There's some things about even the fossil record that I think are fascinating. Like the fact that organisms or new forms, disparate organismal forms, appear suddenly and then subsequently diversify within those groups. So this is exactly opposite of the naturalistic expectation where organisms diversify into those disparate groups. The evidence of the fossils is exactly opposite. So it's
Right.
much more like I don't want to ramble on, but yeah, you can jump in if you want.
All right, let's talk about DNA first. When it comes to DNA, like um the reason that we impose like language or coding on it is because like it's basically how we can understand this stuff. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not like the DNA actually has its own language. We say that it has a language, but that's because we're just imposing that on it for us to understand it better. You see what I'm saying? And not only that, like from what we've seen from genetics, there are a lot of things that go wrong in DNA as well. You feel what I'm saying? Like people are sometimes born genetically to be more susceptible to certain cancers or just to be born with cancer. You know what I mean? Like we know that breast cancer can be genetic in your family. And when it comes to people of my ethnic group, black people tend to be born with sickle cell. You know what I mean? That's just encoded in our DNA. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sickle cell, at least for living in the society that we live in, is very, very bad for you. You know what I mean? Like people unalive from sickle cell like every year. I don't see how that's an intelligent design in our DNA. And as far as the fossil record goes, um, as far as what I've seen or what I know, um, when when we have fossils and we see them diversify, no fossil just there's like are you saying that we found fossil that just appeared out of nowhere in a certain place, like in the rock strata, unrelated from anything else, and then all of a sudden 100 years later it diversifies to all these other things without no rhyme or reason, just one here to another and just complete diversify with no steps in between? Is that what you're saying we see in the fossil record?
We do see that sometimes. Oh, well, predominantly we do see that.
I I don't believe that to be true. Like when I say that, like I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm saying that from what I read from the fossil record, we don't see that at all. Which animal or
Well,
organism does that?
trilobite, the Cambrian fauna. So a lot of
Oh
people will
yeah, the
say that
Cambrian explosion
they
has fossils before. The Cambrian explosion is just is a misnomer. Like that happened over like the explosion was of a period of like 1 million to 2 million years. It's not just things just popped up out of nowhere in like 100 years or so.
Yeah, so if you're saying 1 million to 2 million years, you're actually making it far, far more explosive than what even creationists, design proponents say. Most of the time, when people try to refute the Cambrian explosion, they try to say it's 50 million years or something like that. But actually, the main pulse of diversification happened during I think it's the Tomatian epoch within the Cambrian. That's where 90 something percent of the phyla.
Right. So if it's over
Yeah.
a period of well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. It's not 2 million years, but if you're saying that it's over a period of 50 million years, yeah, that's a lot of time for diversity to happen. Yeah, I mean, actually, I have
Yeah, and I'm
Oscar
not
up.
saying that. I'm not saying it was 50 million years. I think actually the best estimate is 5 million years now. But
Well,
geologically, so we have to be careful that we're not just talking about it intuitively. Like intuitively, we only live 100 years or whatever. So a million years obviously seems like a really long time, but geologically, and in terms of how long it actually takes things to evolve, that's a blink of an eye, or it's widely regarded as a blink of an eye. You can look
right. Yeah.
at
From what
there
I'm
are
looking at,
prominent
I'm sorry.
scientists.
I got you. And I'm gonna say one last thing. I'm gonna let Oscar go. From what I'm seeing, the Cambrian explosion lasted anywhere from 13 million to 40 million years. So that's still a lot of like. Yeah, I understand that in geological terms, geological time ends with like billions of
90
years.
something. Yeah. If you want to
Yeah,
capture
I understand that geologic time.
90 something percent of the pulse, then it's more like 5 million years. Some
Yeah, but
researchers may say it's even less.
yeah, I got you. Some stages were 5 to 10 million years, but if the Cambrian was within certain stages, and the entire period lasted 13 to 25 million years, or 13 to 50, 40 million years, that's still like a lot of time for diversity to happen. Even within 100,000 years, lots of diversity can happen. Yeah, so we've seen that with ring species, for example, where over the course of 10 to 15 years, diversity happens. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like this is one of those things where it just kind of popped up. Let me let Oscar go ahead and speak because I know I haven't let him speak for a second. Chris, how's it going? Remember, like the live and share it. I appreciate you being here. Oscar, what you got for us,
Hey,
brother?
hey, how you doing, Bossy? Oh,
I'm all right.
first off, I want to start off. I seen your TikTok video about when you got in your car accident. I'm glad you recovered well. Because that was a little scary. Because I don't see you on
Yeah,
TikTok too much. So I'm glad that you recovered well. You happy, back smiling,
appreciate
debating
you, man.
these Christians. So I gotta get that out of the way.
No problem. I
but
appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
you
Just
know,
I have to drop
I
in like 2 minutes.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Well, go ahead, Oscar.
you know, even though we on the same side, I think we can still try to make conversation with each bullet point because I have different, I have opinions about each one of your points. But let's start off with the first one. There's no good reason to believe in a God, and usually we talk about Christianity, because I see you around a lot. Uh, I heard a great atheist ask this question that said, "What made you believe that Jesus died for your sins?" And like what convinced them? And that's the question I want to ask. Like, what convinced you that Jesus passed away for our sins? There's no real good evidence. There's nothing that really the only thing I can hear is just like somebody told you this, and now I believe that's the reason that you believe this. There's no real true reason. What do you think
The
about that?
reason No, I would agree because the reason that I hear is that just like how you said, oh, excuse me, just like how you said, people told me that this, or I didn't believe, and I was out there in the world doing whatever, and then they were at a point in their life where they had no way, and they were lost in the world until they picked up the Bible or they went back to church and they started hearing something, and they had this really big feeling and stuff like that. And it was like, oh my God, this, I feel this, and boom, that's why they believe, because of a feeling. You see what I'm saying? And just like how you said, that's not really evidence of anything, because that happens in most religions. Like if you speak to Muslims, and when they take the Shahada, they say how, you know, how beautiful it was to hear the Quran be sung out loud, and how much they learned about history and stuff like that, and how they cried taking their taking their first steps into the world of Islam and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, you hear that all the time. I mean, so it's like Christianity is not, you know, unique in that regard. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna take their feelings into consideration, we'll take everybody else's feelings into consideration.
Exactly, because like they usually love to reference like, you know, George Washington. You know, nobody ever seen him, but like there's firsthand witnesses that wrote about George Washington's existence. When we
And
compare
we
that
have
to
his
like
own letters.
we have his clothes still, like it's
Mhm.
ridiculous. But like when we compare it to like Christianity, nobody talked about Jesus until at the earliest. This is at the earliest 40 years after his death, passing away. That's the
Exactly.
earliest, you know,
Oh,
because
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Oscar. I'm sorry about that.
go ahead.
I don't want to disclude Heisenberg from the discussion. Me and him we're talking about the Cambrian and everything like that. But Heisenberg, did you have another point? 'Cause I know you said you got to go in about a minute.
I mean, yeah, I just you said a couple of things, so I'm just going to go real quick. You said that there was bad design, essentially. Well, my response would be that's a kind of a theological position. I'm not taking a theological position per se. Even bad design or even immoral design is still design, so it can still we can still say it's designed.
My question to
Look at
that would
cars.
be
There are good, well designed and poorly designed cars,
for
but we
design
still
cars.
say
Yeah,
that they're designed.
they're designed exactly. So my question would, when it comes to that, my question would then become is, how do we determine that something is actually designed? You see what I'm saying? Because like if I were to look at a silk flower, I would know that silk flower is made from silk, because if I look at the cells of a natural flower and the cells of a silk flower, they will have completely different cell formation. They will have a different feel, a different smell. I could look at under a microscope and everything like that. We only have one universe to explore. You know, what I mean, we don't have any other universe to explore. We don't have another. We haven't been to another planet with other intelligent life on it, and we haven't, crossed with another universe. So how would we know that things in this universe are designed and something in another universe is not? Like, what are we comparing it to? All we're saying is that, hey, this really, really looks designed, therefore it must be. That's not a very good position.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're introducing kind of another argument. I haven't really responded to all of the other ones though, but let me just go in order here. So the other argument you made was DNA as code is just an analogy. I think differently, DNA literally fits the Claude Shannon model of mathematical communication. This was argued by Hubert Yockey in like the 50s and 60s. He's a cross-disciplinary scientist. Richard Dawkins, of all people, also affirms this literal interpretation of DNA as code. And now you're asking, how is it that we can make the comparison if we only have one universe? Well, within this one universe, we have intelligent cause and natural cause. So we clearly do have something to compare it to. And we do it all the time in other sciences like archaeology, forensics, fraud detection, etc. So clearly we do have an idea of the types of phenomena that intelligent cause produces and the phenomena that natural cause produces. So we do have a basis of comparison.
Right. And what I'm saying is that when we look at these bases of comparison from what we see from the human body and the natural world, we know these things can arise naturally. Like, I know the difference between a sprinkler dropping water from the sky and rain. You see what I'm saying? Because we can find the sprinkler. You see what I'm saying? But when it comes to things something like rain, we know that's just a water cycle. There's no need for any creative force there. So when it comes to our bodies and even our DNA, we know doesn't have to be any type of creative force there. You know what I'm saying? These things can arise naturally, and we've seen it do so. So why would we impose design when there's no real reason or real evidence that this
like an
exists?
iPhone or whatever? We don't even. Oh, sorry, I think my signal dropped. I think it's a presupposition that we know that nature can produce certain things like code. Like there are other things that we don't make that presupposition, like an iPhone or a silk flower, as you were saying. And that's because we haven't observed nature produce those kinds of things. Of course, if we did observe nature doing that, then the conclusion might change, or at least we'd have two competing explanations for those things, right? And what I'm saying is that we don't yet have that competing naturalistic explanation for things like digital code. And DNA qualifies as a digital communication system. And so the best current explanatory resource is intelligence.
But the thing is, it
Because
doesn't.
we don't have
We've-
that naturalistic explanation yet.
but it doesn't. We've seen DNA arise naturally. Like for example, the prerequisite for DNA is RNA, right? And we've seen RNA form like naturally. Oh crap! I think his signal went out.
Okay, let's say no one out.
I'm going in and out. Sorry.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
we've
so
seen
like if
we've
we
done
wanted to focus
experiments
on one
where
example, we could do that. But
yeah, I got you. What I'm saying is that we've like for example for DNA to form we need RNA, and we've seen RNA and everything like that like compound itself naturally. Like we've seen that before. With the Miller-Urey experiment, we've seen that. You see what I'm saying? So is like DNA doesn't necessarily need a creative force in order for it to happen. If we know that if we know that DNA comes from RNA and RNA can form naturally.
so we have seen some of the parts be produced naturally, just as we would see, certain rock formations be produced naturally. But we haven't seen those parts arrange themselves into digital communication systems. I mean, the sequencing problem is a really fundamental, outstanding mystery in the origin of life. I've only ever seen one paper seriously try to tackle it, and the authors themselves acknowledged that they didn't solve the problem.
Well, like the origin of
But it was
life,
a good
like origin
effort.
of life. I got you. Origin of life research is like a huge field. Is like it's more than just one paper. Like I don't know if you follow this this
I'm
person
going to
called
mute for a second. I'm listening though.
yeah, sure. There's someone called Dave Farina, Professor Dave on YouTube, and he goes into this as well. Like he actually has all the papers from the chemists to the geneticists where they talk about my bad, Oscar. I know my bad, Oscar. But he has papers from geneticists to chemists and everything like that that talk about origin of life research. And there's it's a huge and rich field, and we know I don't know a lot about it, but like someone like that, chemist, they would know more about that. Probably even like a physicist like Dr. Blitz here on TikTok. He may know a lot about origin of life research because even physics has a lot to do with it because chemistry is applied physics. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to origin of life and things that we're talking about, we may not be qualified to talk about this sort of stuff. But as far as not seeing RNA form into digital communication systems, I'm not sure if DNA is even a digital communication system. How do we even know that? You see what I'm saying? But actually, I need to squeeze Oscar in. Oscar, go ahead. I know you need to say something.
Okay, no. Yeah, never feel like you got to rush to put me in because I just go with your flow, and I'm on your side with all this stuff. But something I wanted to say was he was talking about intelligent design. But if we look at the design of humans, we have so many flaws and weaknesses. Our eyeballs, that's a very weak spot. Us being sustainable to diseases, very big weak spot. Us, our skin being so malleable and easily pierced, another weak spot. Like, what kind of all-knowing God creates their almighty being? Like, oh, I wouldn't say almighty, but like we're God's greatest creation, quote unquote. But we have all these flaws within us, and like, how can you still adhere to that we're intelligent design? There's so many weaknesses in humans, and it's too many flaws for you to say that it's intelligent design. But that's all I wanted to say. I'll,
Gotcha.
I'll chime
It
in whenever.
seems it seems counterintuitive, which basically what Oscar is saying. And same thing with that I would say as well. It seems very counterintuitive that we're this like because you said that we even if it's a bad design, we can still tell it's designed. You know what I mean? So that's where the question of how do we even tell what's designed and what's not. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, that's our position. That's what we would say.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
and
you
Heisenberg,
can
I don't want to hold you
recognize
up
even
either. If you
bad
gotta go,
design.
my bad, bro. I just wanted to say I don't want to hold you up. If you gotta go, then we can talk another time. But Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually okay for another few minutes. It looks like.
Okay, great.
We don't
We
recognize
got about 5 more
design.
minutes, so we're good. My bad. Go
Yeah,
ahead. I was
yeah,
just saying
okay,
we
okay.
got 5 more minutes. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fine. Yeah, we don't recognize design based on whether it's good or bad. We might recognize morality or something like that, or might try to. But a lot of these objections are coming from theology. And I'm not making a theological argument. I'm just saying there are certain very well defined structures that, in our experience, are produced by intelligent cause. And maybe they are efficient or inefficient, or maybe they cause harm or don't cause harm, or something like that. But they can still have features that, in our experience, are associated with intelligent cause. So it's not a question of good or bad. Like I was saying earlier, I think Oscar wasn't here, but intelligence is not intended to mean an IQ test. Intelligence is supposed to convey the idea of engineering. That engineering must have occurred, or something capable of engineering must have done it.
All right. No, I do get that. I do get that argument. It's just that from where I'm standing, I don't see a reason to actually, believe that we were designed, because the things that are in our body, even DNA and genes and everything like that, we've seen these arise naturally. So why would we impose design on it? You see what I'm saying? I think we all
Because
come back around to that.
We haven't seen the communication system arise naturally.
When you say communication system, what do you mean?
Claude Shannon's mathematical model of communication, where he describes digital communication between a sender and a receiver across a communication channel.
Right. So what's the communication? So what's the communication channel of DNA, and where's it being sent to? Like, has it been proven that DNA is receiving something or being monitored or anything like that? Like, how do we even know that?
Yeah. I mean, if we want to go through the model, we can do that. But DNA stores the digital information. It's sent across the communication channel of mRNA. That message is received by the ribosome, which translates it into proteins.
So basically, everything
all the
within
elements of that model.
Right. Okay, I got you. So everything within our DNA is doing what DNA basically does, what genetics basically does. So, but like when I say who's the sender, who's the receiver, our DNA is not sending anything out to anything else, but only within its actual components, right?
I mean, the system operates within itself. I'm not really sure what you mean. The sender would be, I believe it's the RNA polymerase, which transcribes the message. And then the receiver would be the ribosome, which translates the message.
Right. We've seen this in nature, though, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, we've seen this happen in nature.
But we haven't seen this happen naturally. Origin in nature. We have not seen the origin of that communication system.
You would have to
That's
talk
one of the
to
outstanding mysteries.
You would have to actually talk to like chemists or geneticists when it comes to that, because I don't think neither of us are qualified for that.
Well, and
all right, but we're actually at the last 30 seconds, so I gotta let you go, man. Do you have anything else just to wrap up?
Yeah, it's cool, man. I hope that we get to talk a little bit in depth sometime. I think there are positive reasons to make the conclusion of design. I think the fossil record's really interesting. DNA is. But yeah, I appreciate the conversation. I hope we get to do it again.
Not a problem, bro. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Okay.
Hey, my bad, Oscar. I didn't mean to squeeze you out there.
No. You know, I'm a supporter of you, so it don't matter what you got going on.
Gotcha. Yo, I actually saw you on a live one time. You was with a bunch of Trump supporters, and I wanted to jump on, but when I saw the way they was jumping you, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna get on this, because I'm gonna get frustrated. I'm gonna get frustrated. I'm gonna cuss people out. It's not gonna be a good look. You know what I'm saying? So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna get on this. I wanted to get on and back you up, but the panel was full and they wasn't gonna let me on, and it was gonna it was bad. Just to say it was bad.
They something else, because once they get going, and it's like they don't change. The same as Chris. They don't change their mind. just because they say here's something that's right, they gonna stick by side it. And
Exactly.
but I can try to answer all these points, and I think we can make conversation with this. Even though we on the same side, I think we can make conversation with this going.
Yeah, sure. Just give me 1 second. All right, y'all. Tap the screen. We at 3.7K likes right now. Go ahead and tap, tap, tap. We got 16 people in here. If you know anyone who is a believer, either Christian, Muslim, or any type of believer, go ahead and send this to them, and we can go ahead and speak and have a good time and have a discussion. I will be live next week with Joyful Apostate at 6 Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, and we're gonna be going ahead and talking. So you guys make sure to turn in for that. Click the live, like it. Make sure to follow Oscar. Send him any gifts as well. Send any gifts his way. Let's go ahead and have a conversation, y'all. All right. So until we get some ops in here, go ahead, Oscar. Well, what you was looking at again? The second one, faith isn't a pathway to truth. I'm gonna put reliable in there. Faith isn't a reliable pathway to truth. That's what I would say. What you think, Oscar?
Yes, I agree with that. Well, before we get to that, I love Joyful Apostate. I like listening to his lives. He's very intelligent and knowledgeable. I like people who's knowledgeable about the book, because we don't got to beat around the bush. Go straight to the verses and say and show them directly that it says this. That's why I like atheist debaters who do that. Go straight to the verse and show them this is exactly what it says. They can squirm afterwards and try to beat around it, but when you show them the verse,
Exactly.
I love debaters like that.
Exactly. Don't beat around the burning bush. You know what I mean? So it's but yeah, man. And I think not only apostate, apostate, but also Justin, because he's the one who started it first. Justin has a whole spreadsheet. That's what I had here. That's what I had open. That's how I was able to read those verses to my first guest. Yeah, I mean, he has a whole spreadsheet of everything that that the Bible has, from slavery, both in the Old and the New Testament, Smenocide, executing virgins, allowing grape to happen, stuff like that. Causing grape to happen, contradictions. There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah,
There's so much that they ignore. There's so much that they just ignore. But you said,
and I've always wanted a spreadsheet like this. I'm so glad he made it, because I wanted to make one, but I never had time. But he finally made one. It's amazing. My bad.
Man, nah. But Justin, I've been trying to tell him. Well, I follow him, but he got a lot of followers. So I've been trying to tell him, yo, send me all the bad verses, because I need this to help me debate.
I'm gonna send them to you.
Okay. I'll DM you about it.
You that. Yeah, I'm definitely inbox you that, because I got it. So I'm gonna definitely send it to you.
But you said faith. You reworded the second point. You said faith isn't a path. No, you didn't say pathway. You said you reworded something else.
Yeah, I said it's not a reliable pathway to truth. You know what I mean? Because you actually can have faith and be right about something, but you can have faith and be wrong about something. So it's not reliable. It's not a reliable pathway to truth. Because I know you know how a lot of these believers are. They're sticklers. And we were like, oh, but if I have faith that 2 + 2 = 4, it led me to truth. So that one's wrong. You know how that go. So it's like that's why I would change it. I would say that's not a reliable pathway to truth, because you can take on something on faith. You could be right about it, but you could also be wrong. A 50-50 coin flip is not reliable. If I were to tell you, hey, bro, you can borrow my car, but 50% of the time it may not start, are you going to borrow my car?
It's not reliable.
It's not reliable.
It's right there.
Yeah, you probably won't really. Exactly. That's what I want to say. Do you agree?
Oh, yes. I definitely agree, because there's so many things that's not reliable about this book, and people just so wholeheartedly believe in it. I don't want to get too off topic, but they don't even read this book, but they rely on this as their salvation to the afterlife. If it's so important to you, you might as well check out what it says in the book. And when I show them verses, they be confused about it. They usually try to cop out and say, well, you don't know the context of it. No, you don't know the context of it. You're just trying to say that just to stall for you to look up the verse and actually what it means. But no.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, take it for what it is, bro. This God or whatever, this person, he's an absolute monster. So, and we have no reason to believe that. Just Go ahead and just admit it. If you could admit it, I could respect it. You know what I mean? But a lot of them times they don't admit it. All right, y'all. I put a new goal up. Hey, Skits is in the house, y'all. Shout out to Skits and Bis. Yo, Skits lives are hilarious too. I love his lives. He's hilarious. But yeah, just like how you were saying, there are a lot of things that are unreliable, especially the contradictions. I've had people really sit there, and when I show them a contradiction, they deny that it was a contradiction. It's like they gaslight themselves. You feel me? Like, it's amazing.
Yes, yes. And my favorite verse to go to is John 14:14. Ask anything in my name and I shall answer. It's Jesus talking.
Mhm.
And when I ask them this, they just be profound and just like flabbergasted, like, well, it actually means this. The best excuse I heard for it so far is that, he was talking to the disciples, so it doesn't actually mean this. But but like look, that was the best excuse. That's the best excuse I heard. But I gotta come back for him.
He was talking to his disciples.
I'll give him that. I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
No, that's actually hilarious. If I heard that, I would have laughed. I'd be like, "What you mean? I thought Jesus was talking to all of us." Or they'll say he's talking in parables. You're like, "Oh, so he didn't really
my
mean that."
God.
So
The
Jesus was
parable
capped.
excuse.
That's what's going on. Jesus was capped.
It was, well, they be saying whatever. But like,
Oh, man.
okay, so let's go with he's talking to his disciples. But we go back 2 verses. He says, "Pray anything in my name, and you shall do greater works than me." Whoop-de whoop. You know that verse.
Yeah.
I ain't got it verbatim, but you know that verse.
Mhm.
So hypothetically, there should be 12 greater people than Jesus who was supposed to be wandering around after his death.
Yo, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm gonna add that to the spreadsheet. And I'm gonna tell Justin about it. I'm gonna add that to the spreadsheet because that's true. He does say that if you pray, you should do things greater than I can.
Mhm.
So doesn't that mean that we should be greater than Jesus as well? That's a good one.
And like if we talk to the disciples, that's 12 people, Jesus level and above. Like I'm thinking about
Yeah,
this
exactly.
anime wise, like these is 12 people who's on the level of Jesus, no, above the level of Jesus, who was walking around, who was never recorded in history. None of the disciples is recorded in history. And that's another thing that people just seem to just like breeze by. None of them are recorded.
No. Yeah, and you know what's the excuse is that the Vatican has all they'll tell you that the disciples were martyred in Ethiopia or martyred in India, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like we actually don't have a record of that. You know what I mean? And then when I point out that we don't actually have a record of that, they be like, "Oh, it's all in the church tombs. The Vatican has it." I'm like, "Okay, so the Vatican has it. So where can I go get it then? Like, can I go to the Vatican and actually read these records?" And that's when it comes to a whole bunch of excuses and gobbledy thing. You know what I'm saying? A bunch of gobbledygook. They can't even explain where are the actual hard records. What do we have any relics of Matthew being in Ethiopia? Really, it's just in church tradition. Oh, Oscar, I'll add you to the Discord. All right, send me your Discord name and I'll add you to the Discord. But yeah,
Okay.
it's really in church tradition. So basically, the only reason like we think that Peter was martyred here and Matthew was martyred here and John went over here is for the Bible tells me so. That's really the only reason. We have no hard proof that these are where they went. Like there's no relics, there's no archaeological evidence, there's no writings of them, none of that. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, the like Indian civilization has existed for thousands of years. They had writing. You know what I mean? Is there any writings over there in India that shows that a man came from the West speaking about, the existence of a super deity, that walked in Palestine? Nothing like that exists. Nothing like that exists. And they'll swear up and down that it does.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think they're so in denial just to like even to like look at it. Like just look at for what it is. Just look at the claim he said and just acknowledge that he said this and that it's not true. Like, I mean, I understand that you try to like beat around it, but like at a certain point you gotta understand maybe you was just lying. Or maybe this isn't true. But they will completely defend somebody who's never produce any fruitful things for them,
Mhm.
and it's just a headache. It's just a headache talking to them. Like,
It's a headache. Yeah, add a bit of fun talking to yesterday about someone about the fourth prompt. You see my fourth prompt, right? God isn't necessary for purpose, morals, values, etc. Someone his name was Plague, but yeah, we had a really tight and long, just contentious discussion about why he's necessary for any of that. One thing that I've seen about a lot of Christians is that they take metaphysics very, very seriously. You see what I'm saying? And metaphysics to me is completely useless. Yeah, I mean, because it goes it gets to a point where we talk about it gets to a point where it's basically sophistry. You know what I mean? We're just talking just to talk. Like we're just making shit up at a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially when you get to the type of people who say that, you know, like they know God exists because they have knowledge, and they have knowledge because God exists. It's a completely circular argument, and I've never understood, and I can't stand it. You know?
and one of the biggest things that, like, I'm gonna try to skip to the fourth point, that God is necessary for purpose, morals, and values. Like
Mhm.
when they say, since we don't believe in God, we have no purpose in our lives. It just completely confuses me, because, like, just because you can't live without God doesn't mean we cannot
You
live
can't
out
live
without.
without God.
We've
Exactly.
been living without God for a long time,
Mhm.
and you know I think it's more about y'all. Y'all more afraid to live without God, and it just terrifies them. I think that's the biggest thing. It terrifies them, and they, I think they would act up. They would, like, if all major historians just came out and said Jesus never existed, whoop de whoop, they would lose their shit. Oh, lose their things. Like they wouldn't know how to act. And
Hey, and that's actually a very scary thing to me, because it's like, do you really need like this holy book to tell you how to act? Yeah, I mean, like, if the only reason why you as a moral person is because you believe that some bearded guy from 2,000 years ago made a virgin sacrifice of himself to himself in order to create a loophole for the rules he created himself, if that's what's keeping you from, murdering and not raping people, please keep believing it, because it's like you have problems. You have absolutely problems, and if that's the best you can do, if that's what keeps you in line, then yeah, I'm not going to tell you to not believe it. Go ahead and still believe it, because you obviously need that. You're a psycho person, and you need that. And I've heard that before. I've heard people say that before, like, without it they'll be out here doing whatever, and I'm like, bro, then
I
you
think
have
they dead
problems.
serious. I think
And
they
they're dead
dead
serious, yeah.
serious what they say is because they they really are just upheld by this book, and it's ridiculous. Like, it's clearly that they have nothing else behind that. Like,
Exactly.
I'm only a good person because this book tells me to. Like, how do you not see that you're not thinking for yourself? How do you not see that? That's
Not to
absurd.
mention, there's plenty of places in this book where it tells you to do awful things. You know what I mean? And just for a second, hey y'all, we're at 4.7K likes. We're at 12 people in here. Go ahead and keep tap that screen. Let's get me to 5 or 6K likes by the time this is over. It looks like not a lot of the ops want to come up today. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a bad day for the ops, y'all. You ever see this, Oscar, where people just don't want to come in? They don't want to come up to discuss. It's one of
Well,
those days, man. It's been. Mhm.
Volsy, when you cook them badly, they don't need a time to regroup. They don't need a time to regroup. I see this with big content creators where you know somebody, like, they might have like 1,000 followers, they might have 1,000 people they live,
Mhm.
but if they do somebody really really bad, like, it's embarrassing.
Mhm.
It'll be like 20 people requesting, and it'll go down to like zero within a
Yeah.
matter of seconds. And it's just like, damn. He said, "Oh, I was gonna say," and then they might have to
Yeah.
regroup for a second. Let me look at my verses.
Yeah, they go
So,
back and regroup it and be like, well, yeah, I
but
can't
but like I think I like doing this sometimes. Even though I'm not really debating you, because we in agreement. I just like getting my thoughts out So like next time, so I do go a debate, I
Mhm.
can have like a fully thought out process of what to say.
Yeah, definitely, man. And you brought up a new thing that I didn't even think of the entire thing where Jesus said that we can do things greater than him, so the disciples should have been greater than him. Yeah, I mean that's actually very true. I never thought of that. I mean, so you brought up a very true statement. Quan is in the building, y'all. Quan, how's it going, Quan?
Juan, I like Juan too.
Yeah, I love Quan. Sometimes when she has the book clubs, I just kind of leave it on and take a nap. You know what I mean? Because she has a very nice reading voice. You know what I mean? Like I love the way she
Hmm.
reads. So I listen to her book clubs, and she's dope. She's dope. Like I love Quan. Yeah, I make sure to follow Quan. I make sure to drop her some likes. You know what I mean? Invite her to your panels. Quan is a great live person as well. But
Ooh, evolution has evidence, creationism
Asianism
doesn't.
doesn't.
Oh,
They be getting mad at me for that one.
but like in Genesis it says the earth was made created before the sun.
Mhm.
But this is verifiable fact. The sun is older than the earth. This is easily verifiable. Everybody knows. Every scientist knows the sun
Mhm.
is older. And when you say this to them, I don't even know what they say. I
Like
don't understand.
what they usually say is that it's like metaphorical, or God was the light, or God was the sun, or whatever. Oh, Quan heard our Quan heard her name. How's it going, Quad? Yeah, we love you over here, Quad. We love you over here. But yeah, what they usually say is that God Himself was the one giving light, which is kind of that's weak, man. That's weak. You know what I mean? That's so weak, bro. Because it literally says, the first days passed, but he said it was the first day and the second day, and God didn't create the sun to the third day. And every time you ask them, how can days pass, without a sun? How can you have a day without a sun? And they're all like, oh, God was given the light. He was the day. And it's like, oh, come on, y'all.
But like
Come
that,
on, y'all.
that comes down not understanding basic science because they don't
Basically.
understand basic science is that us revolving around the sun is a day. But they just thinking it's just 24 hours. But no, where do we get this 24 hours from? It's us. That's the amount of time it takes for us to go around the
Spin.
sun.
Hmm.
And but it's just like it goes it just goes blank from their head. I
Hmm.
really don't think they understand it. There's a lot of
No, they don't.
science, simple science they don't understand.
It's a lot of simple signs that they don't understand, and I don't think they realize that the Bible actually has flat Earth verses in there too, which is why you find a lot of flat earthers who are like these extreme Christians, very
Uh-huh.
ridiculous. You know what I mean? So
They talk about the firmament.
yeah, exactly. So they're extreme Christians that even creationist Christians back away from. If you're you know what I mean, flat earthers, like flat earthers are kind of ridiculous. But yeah, but there's verses in the Bible that talk about a flat earth, firmament, chewing cud, animal reproduction. I'm gonna send you that entire list, because
Hold on, a
it's
chewing good.
mhm.
I ain't heard that one yet.
Yeah, like it says that rabbits chew cud, and I think it said that it's not donkeys, it's another species, but it says that these animals chew cud and they don't. Rabbits don't chew cud. So it's really it's
It's
yeah, it's just a
it's
lot of rock
ridiculous.
badgers. There we go. Rock badgers. Tracy said, I'm saying it for me, rock badgers. It said that rabbits and rock badgers chew cud and they don't. They absolutely don't. So it's lots of mistakes. But that's to be expected because this book was written by um, you know, desert goat herders 2,000 years ago. They had no idea how this planet worked, which is why Noah probably thought he was the last person when he wasn't. You know?
And like okay, I don't want to get political, but when they talk about the Constitution, like it's just infallible, or they defend it all the time. But I don't think they understand what amendments are. That's when they change things that's in the Constitution to update it to what's needed for today. Like the 13th Amendment, like slavery
Mhm.
is needed no more. But if you can't update a book that's 2,500 years old, how do you not see that's not crazy? It's been 2,500 years, and the way they was living back in the day
Mhm.
doesn't correlate to how we're living today, and it's just
Not only
I just blank staring.
not only 2,500 years, but translated through multiple languages, translated from Aramaic to Hebrew to Greek to English. You know what I mean? All these, thanks for the gifts, y'all. Thank you for the gifts. All these language barriers that it had to go through. You feel me? And it's like something's gonna get lost in translation. Like, for example, I speak Haitian Creole, right? The thing about Haitian Creole is that it's very contextual and it's very metaphorical. You can't do a word for word translation from Haitian Creole to English because the translation wouldn't always make sense. There are some times where you can do it, but there are other times where the context doesn't make sense. Where doing a word for word translation is not gonna work. You have to do it metaphorically. You see what I'm saying? Like for example, uh saying like sac passé not boule, right? Sac passé literally means what is happening, and not boule literally means I'm burning. You know what I'm saying? But the metaphorical translation for la boule means I'm good, I'm doing good. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean I'm literally burning. You see what I'm saying? But if I were to translate that literally, if I were to if you were to see that on paper, what's up, I'm burning, you think that's a bad thing, right? So you can't translate it like that. You have to translate it metaphorically. When it comes to things like the Bible, you have the same exact issue. If it's going from Hebrew to Greek, those languages are related, but they're not one for one translations. You're gonna have problems with translations, and then from Greek to English, same problem. It can't be one for one translations because just like how I said, there's going to be problems there. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna need a metaphorical or literal reading of it. There's going to be some issues. So when you look at it's going through 3 language barriers, and not only that, you have the issue of the fact that Jesus' life wasn't written about until 40 years after he passed away. There's gonna be embellishment in there, man. Like there's gonna be embellishment. Like how do we, like from the ages of 12 to 33, we have no record of what Jesus was doing. When he was 17, did he go on a date? We have no idea because it's not in the Bible at all. It stops at 12 and it picks him when he's 33. That's crazy. That's like 20 years of we have no idea what happened with his life, and then at 33 he was walking on water. Like
What do you
it's a
think
problem.
about like what do you think about like the non-canon books, like the Gospels of Thomas, where it talks about him as a child? And and when you look at the Gospel of Thomas, you know, he was acting like Bart Simpson out there. Like he was just doing whatever he wanted with his powers. Just a little kid. He
Mhm,
sounds like a regular normal kid that
mhm.
has superpowers. Who's just abusing it. And what, like I think he turned. What did he do? He turned some people into stone because they made fun of him or something silly like it happened, and he just did that out of nowhere.
That's hilarious.
And
Let me answer this question real quick. Sage, Haitian Creole is it's not a French dialect anymore because French people can't understand it. Haitian Creole is a Creole language. It uses French words, but the syntax and the grammar has West African roots. So basically, some of the words are 18th century French, some of the words are 18th century Spanish, but the grammar of it is West African, which is why like a lot of French people can't understand Creole, but a lot of African people who speak French, they can understand Creole because the grammar is the same. That's what Haitian Creole is. But my bad, Oscar. Go ahead. What you were saying?
oh no, you fine. Uh, but like even though certain books isn't considered canon, quote unquote,
Mhm.
it was just a group of church fathers who said this book will be in the official Bible. But like, there's really nothing that's really differentiating them because it's just them saying, "Well, I want this one in the official one. This one,
Mhm.
and I really don't like it as much, so we'll just keep that one out." And
Yeah,
like the
how the
Gospel of
Bible,
Judas.
like Gospel of Judas, exactly. How the Bible was compiled is a very interesting subject. How the Bible was actually compiled because what decisions did they make to include something and not include something? There's a biblical scholar on this app called Dan McClellan. McClellan. Oh, bad. I'm so bad with that. But yeah, he if you follow him, he actually explains why some weren't added. Now there are reasons why some were legitimately weren't added. You know what I'm saying? Because we know it was made up. A person just came that day to the council and said, here's the parchment. So we know that that's made up. You know what I'm saying? So like that there are legitimate reasons why some weren't added, but others, like how you were saying, Gospel of Judas, Gospel of Thomas. I think there's the Book of Enoch as well, some of the Apocryphas. The reason why they weren't added had political reasons for it. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't like we can't tell that this wasn't real. It's just that it didn't really align with the politics of the council at that point. You see what I'm saying?
And
So it's my bad. Go ahead.
no, I definitely agree with you. And like people don't seem to acknowledge that like the politics played a part in it. And like,
Mhm.
you know, they'll act like whatever was happening then, that was just God speaking, that was the perfect word going on, and they'll ignore the political reasoning behind this. Like, you know, uh I'm not too familiar with exactly the situation on what's going on, but I'm 110% sure that, you know, they selected certain books for better control of
Mhm.
the people in the civilization, the people in that society. So, you know, they might have excluded certain books for certain reasons.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
you
Exactly.
know, I
That's the
might
reason they
have to
excluded them.
double check on it, but I'm pretty
Definitely.
sure they excluded certain books for that.
Just a quick break real quick. We're at 7K likes, y'all. 7.1. Excuse me. Oh man. We're at 7.1K likes. Yes, let's match energy. I am an atheist. We're at 7.1K likes, 15 people in here. Keep tapping the screen, keep liking it. Share this out with anybody that's out there. Let's see. Oh, there's a guest. Oh, we actually have two guests. I'm not sure who was first. I'm not sure who was first, y'all. I do apologize. I'm gonna bring Will up first.
All right. So your question is talk to me about why there's no reason to believe in God, but don't you think there should be a necessary reason to believe in God with all the demonic stuff that happens all around the world and all the supernatural things that happen around the world?
Can we prove those things are supernatural or demonic?
Well, there's plenty of cases the Vatican can show everyone. There's places all over the country, whispers and rumors. I mean, everyone couldn't be lying.
Right. Everyone couldn't be lying. I'm not saying that they're all lying, but they could all be mistaken.
Yes, but every single case, I mean, it's like that's a black and white thing right there. Then if everybody has mistaken.
That could be the case because we know that everybody was mistaken, thousands of years ago when they thought that, like for example, back in ancient China, they thought that thunderstorms and things like that were dragons. Are
That's
dragons
true.
real?
No,
Right, exactly. So everybody in that time period was wrong because there are no dragons.
that's true. But when it comes to evidence of God and stuff, and well, let's say demonic activity, for example, there are
Mhm.
cases where people do float. There's people who can crawl. There's people who even profess that they're demons. There's people whose eyes colors completely change, and there's hard
Mhm.
concrete evidence, even video recordings of it that yes, you can find on the internet, could be edited, but everybody couldn't be lying. It's so hard with today's technology to truly believe that there's nothing supernatural going on.
So how come it's never been actually demonstrated like demonstrably?
Well, if you go to the Caribbean, there's a lot of magic witchcraft that is performed all
Oh,
over.
I'm Haitian, so I definitely know about that.
I'm right there with you, but
Mhm.
I've honestly never seen it in my life. I never want to hope. I'd hope I never do see it, but even you in places in Haiti, it's embedded in the culture and everything. It's hard for Haitian people to truly believe in something that's super fake if they never saw any proof of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Let me tell you something right now.
yeah,
And this is something that I don't want to be anti-black. I
right,
don't want to put down my people. You see
right.
what I'm saying? But one thing that I've seen about black people, and this is not just about for people from the Caribbean. Appreciate you, Mandy. Thank you for the roses. It's not just people from the Caribbean or people from Africa or African Americans. This is across black people, like in general. We can be very superstitious. You see what I'm saying? And it's one thing that annoys me because it's like, no, it's not always a ghost. Like it's not always that your cup fell down because it's a demon in the house.
Right.
All right, it could just be the AC. You see what I'm saying?
That's true. That's
So
true.
like when it comes to things in the Caribbean, especially with my Haitian people, one thing that they've always said was that there's mermaids, right? That mermaids
Yeah,
exist.
that's true.
And then when I asked them to actually describe a mermaid, they say it's green with a long nose and sharp teeth. That is a crocodile. Right? And Haiti does have crocodiles.
Right. That's
So
true.
it's like we can there's always things that were give me 1 second. I'm sorry, 1 second.
Mhm.
Oh, Rich and Grace, I still see you. I'm gonna bring you up right after I talk to Will. So when it comes to stuff like that, it always something that me personally that I doubt, because it's like we have to demonstrably show this is true. I can go to I've actually done that before personally. I've gone to an Uga, like because my dad was a pastor or whatever,
Mhm.
and some Ugas are kind of, they're not on the light side of voodoo, they're on the dark side of voodoo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So some Ugas, like, who are enemies of the church or whatever, they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna put a curse on you and all this other good stuff. And I say, if you turn me into a cat, I'll give you $1,000 right now. I'm still here. You
Right,
know what I'm
right.
saying?
I know what you mean.
So,
I know what you mean. But-
yeah, it's just one of those things, man. That's what I would say.
Hey, I hear you. But thank you though. I'll let you get the next guy.
All right, man. No problem. Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
All right, I'm gonna bring Rich and Grace up real quickly. Rich and Grace, how's it going?
Yo, what's going on, man? We good?
I'm good, man. You any type of believer?
Say what now?
Are you any type of believer?
Come again?
I'm sorry, I'm speaking too rough. Are you any type of believer?
I'm a Christian. This is free.
You're a Christian.
Yeah.
You're a Christian. Free. Oh, because it's a Rich and Grace, so it's free.
Oh yeah.
All right, free. Oh, cool. All right, hold on, y'all. We have 35 people in here, 8K likes. Free. How's it going? It's been a while since we talked. Go ahead. What you got for me?
Oh, we blessed, man. I didn't know your dad was a pastor.
My dad is an old school Haitian pastor.
Is he still Christian?
Oh yeah, definitely. But matter of fact, when I got into an accident last week, not last week. When I got into an accident 2 weeks ago, my entire family was on that. Oh, you need to repent and all this other good stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I got into an accident. Yeah, I'm good. All right, I survived. I'm good. But yeah, he's still a pastor.
Do you think he's intellectually honest?
My dad is. I think, me honestly, when it comes to folks like my dad, I think when it comes to a lot of Christians, these type of discussions they never actually had. You see what I'm saying? So in their way, they are being intellectually honest because they've never had these type of discussions. You see what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to these type of discussions, if they were to actually talk about it, then at that point, I would see they're being intellectually honest. I would say for the members of my family, where I spoke about this with them, they're not being intellectually honest. But my mom and my dad, they don't have these type of discussions. They just believe what they believe and they don't want to talk about it. That's fine. For them, they're being intellectually honest. For the ones that I have talked to my family members about, they're not.
So why haven't you gone to your closest family members about this?
I have my sisters.
So your parents aren't your closest?
I'm close with my parents, yeah. But they're the closest to me, not really. But that's not disrespect to my parents. Like I love them. You know what I mean? I see them all the time. I go over every Sunday to go speak to them. You know what I mean? Like they're it's not like beef. You know what I mean? I love my parents.
But being that they're your parents.
Yeah, they're my parents.
And they stand on this. Why haven't you gone to them with this?
Me, I don't like to impose. You if you want to know what my position is, then you can come and speak to me. But they know I don't believe. They already know. You know what I'm saying? But they've always told me, hey, go back to church, hey, repent. And I'm not gonna I'll tell them, I'm not gonna do that. you know, but I'm not gonna go to them. I'm not gonna go to them and say, like, oh, this is why I don't believe, and lay out, books of things, give them the God delusion. I'm not gonna do all that. But if they come to speak to me about it, sure, I'll speak to them about it. But me, I don't I'm not gonna go up to them and speak, because the thing is about it is that I know what it's gonna cause, and I don't want to bring stress into my life. If they want to talk to me about it, talk to me about it. You feel me?
What's it gonna cause?
Because last time I spoke to family members about it, it caused like a whole 6-hour discussion, and we just got stressed out. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna understand me. At least what I've seen from the family members that I spoke to about it, they don't understand it, and they don't want to understand it. So there's no point.
All right, man. Well, hopefully, before your life is over, you get an opportunity to speak to your mother and your father about this issue that's pretty important to you because it's what you're most passionate about. You come on TikTok and you talk about it. This is your topic, religion and Christianity. So hopefully, before you go, you'll be able to talk to them personally about it. It might be very impactful for you. But
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. I would actually talk to them about it, but it's like honestly, I would wait for them to come to me. My family dynamics are kind of different than me talking to people over the internet. You see what I mean?
yeah, I get it. My mom isn't Christian. Well, no one in my family is really Christian, but I talked to her about it, already knowing that she doesn't have the worldview that I have. But I'm passionate about talking to her about it for that reason, because I'm confident and secure that I have the truth, and so I want to talk to people that I believe don't have the truth. So I'm always, I'm never, walking away or trying to avoid conversations with opposition, like you do on here. You want opposition, you know what I'm saying? So I'm the same way, especially with my family and friends, because those are the people I care about more than people I don't know. And so people who are unbelievers in my family than strangers. But yeah. But if you,
So, what else you got for me?
so a good reason to believe in God, the believer's reasoning to believe in God is for peace, understanding and clarity about, why they are here, and the purpose of life, where their destiny will be after life. These are questions that believers seek, and so we find resolve. We find those solutions, those answers, by believing on God and then knowing God. So those are good reasons for us to believe on God.
I got you. Okay, so here's why I say that's not a good reason, because as someone just pointed out in the comments, like believing in a God doesn't automatically, not just automatically, but fundamentally doesn't bring you peace, because I'm at peace without believing in a God. You see what I'm saying? Like you can, everything that you just described, you can have those things without a God belief. Like for example, when you say after we pass away, after we leave this earth, what happens? I'm just gone. Yeah, what's gonna happen when I die is gonna be the same thing that happened before I was born. Don't exist, and life moves on.
But you
see what
don't
I'm
know
saying?
that
So,
though.
of course, I don't know that for sure. But I
Right.
don't believe that anything happens.
Right. No, but since you don't know, there's a lack of peace because you just don't know. So you can't say you have peace about it. You can accept the fact that I just don't know and just accept it and be cool with it. But the peace that I have is knowing, having clarity about what is going to happen to me. And that's a different piece.
But what I'm saying, I don't think that's a different piece, because honestly, you don't know either, because that hasn't been demonstrated to actually exist. You feel what I'm saying? But in me, like if I say I don't know this answer, I'm at peace with not knowing an answer. That's fine. Like if I don't know something, I don't know it. What I'm gonna do? Fight somebody because I don't know it? It's just, I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I'm at peace with that. I'm cool with not knowing something. If I don't, if there's an afterlife, then cool, there's an afterlife. Right now, I don't believe there is one, but do I know for sure? No, I don't know for sure, and I'm cool not knowing that. So how, I don't understand how that's not at peace with. You can be at peace not knowing an answer.
Right, but it's a different piece. If you're cool with not knowing the answer, you're cool with not knowing, with ignorance, then you have peace about being ignorant. But see, I would never have peace about ignorance pertaining to something that I wanted to know about. So that would not be peaceful for me, but it can be peaceful for you. But I wanted to say also, how do you know that has not been demonstrated to me? You say that I don't know it because it hasn't been demonstrated. How do you know it has not been demonstrated to me?
Okay, cool. So you have actual evidence of the afterlife?
No. So, well, let me ask you, what kind of evidence do you want?
Something demonstrable.
Something tangible that I can show you tangibly?
Um, yeah, but when I say demonstrable, I mean like, if you were to ask me if I had a bottle of water on my desk, yeah, I have a bottle of water on my desk. There it is. You see what I'm
Right,
saying? Like, you can't touch this, but I'm showing you demonstrably that I have a bottle of water.
right, because you're talking about something tangible, something physical. What I'm talking about is something spiritual that I did not demonstrate on my own. So you want me to demonstrate God, demonstrate the manifestation of God to you when I don't have that power. That's a
Okay, so
demonstration that God provides.
Oh, so okay, so God can demonstrably show himself. So why hasn't he?
To who? To you?
To everyone.
He showed himself to billions of people. He doesn't show
Okay,
himself
but
to everyone because everyone is not his child.
all right, so everyone is not his child. So the people who are not his children are destined to go to hell.
Well, here's the thing, no one has to see. I wasn't always his child. So
Okay, so let me understand this. In
right.
order for me to become a child, become his child, and for him to demonstrate himself to me, I have to believe that he's there first.
Precisely.
Why not just show himself and there's no ambiguity there. Just show yourself.
Because according to his word, and this is what Christians, this is the objectivity that we depend on, the word of God. According to his word, the methodology that he put in place was faith preceding knowing or knowledge of him. He saw fit that he wants people to trust and believe him before they know him.
How do we know that's the word of God in the first place?
Faith.
Okay, so you see what I said in the second one, right? Faith isn't I want to say reliable, but faith isn't a reliable pathway to truth. Like, it's because like there are people who have faith that don't believe in the same thing you do. So why are you right and they're wrong?
Well, faith is a pathway to truth because if you exhaust faith and then you come to know, have a knowledge of truth to know God by way of faith, then it was a pathway for you. As far as other people's faith and other things, people can have faith in anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can have faith that God doesn't exist.
Right. But you see, this is why I say that faith isn't really a pathway to truth. Because if you can have faith and be wrong about something, it didn't lead you to something that's true. It leads you to something that's false. So it's not necessarily a pathway to truth, or it's not a reliable pathway to truth. Because just like how you said, you can have faith in anything. You know what I'm saying? So like, if I have faith that, my wallet is, a supreme being,
right?
I'm wrong about that. My wallet is not a supreme being.
It's the object of someone's faith that declares, if it's subjectively true or not. The object has to actually be true. And so if the object of your faith is not objectively true, then you just have a faith in something. You have a false faith. People can have false faith.
Yeah, people can have false faith, but like, you see how what you said there with the something be objectively true. How do we show that what you have faith in is the objective truth and not what someone else has faith in is the objective truth?
Oh, I got you. Yeah. So that's for the person to know. So you're saying how does a different religion, how do I pinpoint what religion is true? If they say they believe Hinduism is true on faith, and I believe Christianity is true on faith, how do I know that my belief is the objective truth?
Right.
Well, I come to that conclusion based on my experiences with the God, the object of my faith, Christ Jesus, and the message. So I choose to put my faith in this message because it is the greatest love and the greatest grace of all the different options.
Let me ask you this question, because you brought up Hinduism, right? There are Hindus who also had experience with Lord Krishna, and
Yeah.
I've never read the Bhagavad Gita, but they've read the Bhagavad Gita, and they took a message from it about peace, love, and understanding, etc., the same way that you did. So if they
Right.
have experience with the object of their faith and the message helps them believe in it, again, if we go off that, that would mean that Lord Krishna exists as well as Jesus being the Son of God. So are they both right, or are they both wrong, or is one of them right, is one of them wrong? If one of them right and the other one is wrong, how do we tell? Because if we're using your methodology, both of you are right.
No. So I'm saying that I get what you're saying. I'm saying that the Hindu, I wouldn't say they're not experiencing having spiritual experiences.
Free. I'm sorry. 1 second. I'm gonna let you go. I'm sorry. Just 1 second. Mathis and Mr. Joseph, I do see y'all in the request. Stay. I'm gonna finish off with Free first, and then I'm gonna go to you guys. My bad, Free. Go ahead.
Yeah, they I wouldn't say they're not having spiritual experiences. People are able to have spiritual experiences that are not holy spiritual experiences. So, and as far as how do we know, that is for you to decide on. And we won't know. I'm confident in what I know because of my anecdotal experiences with the Holy Spirit, and because the message with my intellect, I can deem the message of Christ being the greatest display of love and grace. And if I'm going to choose a God, if I'm going to choose a God to be the object of my faith, it's going to be the God that has the greatest display of love and grace. And I think that Christ has that over all other religions. But at the end of the day, we'll all know. I know, but everyone will know when they're unalive.
Right. I got you. But like, do you realize that what you said, like I've heard the same thing from Muslims, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So when the Muslim unalives, they'll know.
They'll know exactly.
Or
So when
they can say they know now.
They can say exactly. So they can say they know now, but when they unalive, they'll know. And
same for me.
And say for you exactly on the opposite end. Yeah. So when it comes to me on the outside of all of these religions, when you're all making the same claim, I can't know which one is right because all your methodology is exactly the same, and you're all saying I reached my conclusion by this method, and that's how I know I'm right.
The methodology is not the same. The methodology of Christianity is distinct.
What is distinct about it?
Well, our salvation is not based on our behavior or our how we live our life, our actions. It's based on faith, us trusting and believing what Christ did to save us. So it's based on the work of God, and all other religions are based on the work of self. You having to show and prove if you're worthy to be saved.
Okay, so the thing is, I have several issues with that. Number one, when it comes to Christianity, it was in fact influenced by other religions, especially Judaism, ancient Egyptian, and Zoroastrianism. The entire end of times thing that came from Zoroastrianism. Original Jewish text didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? So apocalypse times and everything like that Jesus was talking about, that didn't even come from Judaism. That came from Zoroastrianism. That's one of the reasons that the Jews hated them. But the second thing that that I would say is that if it all just matters of you just believing and not your actual actions, that's extremely problematic, because now we will have to say that a person like Jeffrey Dahmer is in heaven enjoying himself when he unalived several people, and those people could possibly be in hell just because they didn't believe in something. It could be, good people all their lives. I don't understand why, a person who was, let's say, from the Hindu faith, who dedicated their life to humanitarian issues, they would, unalive and then go to hell and suffer forever just for being born in a geographic region where they may not even have any interaction with Christianity. Why would that person go to hell just because they didn't have faith in something?
I don't believe they would. I believe that God is just, and he judges based on the understanding and the knowledge that someone has. The same way with like babies and children. Like if they're not to a point where they can understand the gospel, or they haven't attained the gospel, then God's not going to judge them for not having been able to trust and believe on Jesus. Now, if someone in that region, if God does expose them to truths, because that's the thing, God draws people, all people, and he exposes you to truths. And if you suppress one truth, then that suppression blocks more truth from being, received by you. So, but God is a just judge. So if someone is born Hindu and they have never got the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they have never rejected truth that God has provided them in any other way, because people were being possessed by God before Jesus and before the Bible was made. God was showing himself to people. So
those
God
who will
has
go
a
to
way.
heaven. Okay, great. So, but what about someone like myself? Like the thing about me is that I don't have any evidence that this is true, because I know we can be susceptible to feelings. You know what I'm saying? Anything that I felt in church can be replicated in any other temple. And I have no evidence that any other type of evidence that this is something like this is real. You know what I'm saying? Because I could have dreams about anything, and I could have spooky like experiences about literally anything. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have any hard evidence that this is the right thing. However, I still don't commit actions which are evil, even in Christians' eyes. So why would I be separate from that?
But you have though, right?
And what's that?
Well, I don't I don't know you, but I'm saying, but only you would be able to determine the wrong you've done, knowing that it was wrong, and you still did it. Like,
Okay, what are let's name some wrongs in the Christian worldview, and we have like about 2 more minutes left, and we got to wrap up. But what would you say would be some wrongs?
I mean, we could just stick to the basic ones. Stealing.
I
Lie.
never stole.
Okay, so you've never done anything wrong?
I've done things wrong, like I've lied before.
Okay, well that is evil.
Okay, cool, but everyone has lied before, right?
That's why everyone has fallen short of the glory of God.
Of God. Okay, I understand that. Is lying always a bad thing?
It depends on the intent.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on the
Yeah,
intent.
exactly.
Okay, so if I lied about something, but the intent of it wasn't bad. Now,
No. I'm saying, when I say wrong, I mean you knowing it's wrong and you've done it. Not you not believing it's wrong and doing it, but you knowing it's wrong and doing it. That's when I asked you if you've done anything wrong.
okay, so I know it's wrong to do, but I still do it anyway because I just don't give a damn.
Right.
Okay, cool. You see, something like that is something I've never when I've done something wrong and I knew it was wrong. The reason why I did it, I can honestly say I've done it for probably a good reason. I've never done anything in my thank you for the gifts, y'all. Let me hit that goal. Thank you for the gifts. I'm almost to that goal. I appreciate y'all. But when I've done something wrong and I knew it was wrong, I can honestly say I don't think there's every time in my life where I did it wrong or I did something wrong and I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? There was a reason for that. We smashed that goal, y'all. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna set up a new one. You feel what I'm saying? But
wait, so wait. So are you saying you've never done anything wrong that you knew was wrong?
I've done things wrong that I knew was wrong, but I didn't do something wrong that I knew was wrong for absolutely no reason at all. I just didn't care.
No,
I did it. I knew it was wrong, but it was for a good reason.
Well, I mean, that's only you can determine that. But I'm just saying that how God looks at sin and wrongdoing is it's by your conscience. It's by your moral compass. So if you violate your conscience about something, something that you're saying, your conscience lets you know that's not right, dude. And you're like, but I really want to do that though. Then that's you doing wrong. And everyone has done that. Everyone who is an adult, you know what I'm saying, who has a developed mind.
We do only have about a minute left.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. It's good convo, fam. Hopefully I'll chop it up with you more, man.
I appreciate you, Free.
Hold it down.
One, brother. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set up a new live. I do appreciate all the gifts. I do appreciate y'all smashing the lives. I mean, smashing the the goal. Pause if necessary. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up Mathis, and then Mr. Joseph, you're gonna be next if you're still there. But just pause for me real quick while I'm going ahead and relieving myself. Y'all remember to go ahead and keep tapping that live, keep liking it, and I'll be right back with you. All right, Mathis, give me a second.
All right.